it's something that I've been dying to get through. So without further ado, and guess what, guys? I've actually queued up the bumper this time.
No way.
It's time for the HotS debate.
True power resides in the dark side of the Force.
No. Quicker, easier, more seductive, perhaps.
This is not a matter of debate.
A debate? This has become.
Okay, so this is a semi-regular. I paid $5 good. Oh, actually $10.
That was like my favorite one that you have.
I had to pay $5 for a Yoda impersonator and $5 for a Darth Vader impersonator to do that dialogue. But that was our bumper for the HotS debate. It's a semi-regular segment that we do on the show, where we take a topic that we debate. We have two hosts of the show. One will defend the topic and one will rebuke it, and we'll have the format as follows. The defender is going to start with 2 minutes for an opening statement. The rebuker has 3 minutes to rebut that statement, and the defender has 1 minute back again for rebuttal. The moderator, which is going to be me for today, is going to ask the rebuker and the defender one question each. They'll have 1 minute for the response. Then the rebuker has 2 minutes for closing statements, and the defender has 2 minutes for their closing statements. All in all, it takes about 15 minutes or so. So the topic for today is one that I think is very interesting. It's Quick Match is a healthy game mode for Heroes of the Storm. I think there's a lot of polarized opinions about this. So defending this statement is going to be Liqiud. A couple other notes. The loser of this debate that we're having tonight is going to have to wear a bow tie for all appearances on Twitch next week. That's an homage to Cavalier guest, who is often seen donning a bow tie, for those that you don't know. And one other rule that I forgot to point out as well, each participant gets one audible. So this is where they can interrupt the other side just by saying audible throughout the course of the debate to stop them to make a 15-second statement, typically if there's something erroneous or they just feel like they need to disrupt the flow of their speech. So, that being said, Liqiud is defending his crown. He's 4-1 so far. He's on quite the hot streak. He thinks this can redeem himself for his embarrassing performance talking about Leoric just previously on the show. So, Liqiud, are you ready to get going?
Do I have a choice?
No. Liqiud, you've got 2 minutes. You're on the clock. Quick Match is a healthy game mode for Heroes of the Storm. Go ahead and start defending, sir.
Okay, so Quick Match is actually a great format in Heroes of the Storm. It's required for a couple of reasons. One of those reasons is some people need something that's between AI, even though we're getting an improved AI, and unranked draft. You need something where you can say, you know what? I want to play Dahaka today. I want to learn Dahaka. This is how I'm going to do that. I don't need to rely on the draft to do this. I just need to be able to, jam games in as Dahaka against other human players. Maybe you've already worked against AI and you feel confident against AI, but you need humans to kind of give you that X factor and that something that really knows how to play. We can all agree that the AI in this game is a little sketchy, even though Blizzard says they are working on it. So you have to have something, and that something is Quick Match. Now, I can agree that there are many trolls in Quick Match. There are many people that probably should not be in Quick Match yet and maybe should do a couple more AI games. But it's definitely a mode that needs to be there just for, you're learning a character. Maybe I want to come home and just get a couple of games in real quick on like Johanna, because I don't really draft her that often. She's not where she should be in the meta, in my opinion. People don't like it when you draft her sometimes, so maybe I want to just come home and play a couple Johanna games. Maybe I just want to go out and bust out this brand new loadout I got from these sweet, sweet boxes that I earned. I'm not going to do that necessarily in a draft because I take drafting a little more seriously than I do Quick Match. But I want to show off to 9 other people. Check out my sweet swag. I mean, come on, man. Sometimes you just got to do that and have a good time. So Quick Match is the place for that. I do think there are people that take Quick Match way too seriously. Those people need to back it down a little bit and realize that maybe unranked draft or maybe the toxic nest that is Hero League is the place for you to be. Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and leave my last 15 seconds off. I think that covers it.
Fair enough. Mystic, do you have a defense prepared for that?
Well, by right of this duel, I'd like to nominate a champion, and I choose Cavalier. Yes, I'm throwing him into the ring.
Liquid, over the course of last week, you may have noticed I never anywhere said that Mystic's going to be the one against you in this
Oh
debate.
my god, you guys are killing me here.
Well, on the bright side, you've got your chance to defend yourself against that poor Leoric performance earlier by trying to beat Cavalier Guest in a debate about quick match. So, Cav, you've got 3 minutes. You're on the clock.
All right, so my objection to quick match as a game mode in Heroes of the Storm is that Blizzard intentionally designed a game where the draft is critical. There are hard counters to certain heroes in the draft that significantly increase the execution cap. Supports are basically mandatory. One of the reasons that Blizzard implemented the quick match rule, where a support, specifically healer style supports, can only be paired against other healer style supports, was because the win rate was so divergent. In addition to that, there are heroes that have 20-point swings on different maps in terms of their win rate and whether or not, and that makes them viable versus not viable on certain maps. You don't know what map you're playing on in quick match when you go in. If you are playing Vikings and you get to them, you're just like, oh, well, that's a loss. There's really literally no way that I should win this map with Vikings. So you can't practice the heroes you want to practice in quick match in a lot of cases because you're not going to get maps where they're viable, where you're going to go into a draft mode and play them on those maps. At best, it becomes an arena for practicing mechanics and not game knowledge, which there probably does need to be some sort of game mode where you can practice purely mechanics and not have to go into the considerations of draft. Drafting is very intimidating, but we're gonna talk about the Overwatch event. There were people who came in from the Overwatch event and hated quick match, did their games and left and never came back. The competitive side of this game is so incredibly deep, and players who enjoy quick match, for whatever reason, when they first come into the game, tend to not like draft modes. They don't like Unranked Draft, they don't like Hero League, whereas people who would love the competitive aspect of this game do not get that competitive aspect in Heroes of the Storm. They don't ever get to play the actual game before they judge it, and it's resulting in a very slow trickle of people coming into the game, even when we have these big events that constantly try to draw them in, and Blizzard keeps constantly trying to build the pool. My suggestion, blind draft or blind pick. You go into a lobby, you know the map you're playing, you can lock in any hero you want, there's no bans, you don't know what the enemy team's picking, you can still have mirror matchups. But if you have a bad comp, you have a bad comp. You picked it on purpose. You're going to learn something about why your comp doesn't work versus whatever their comp was. This is going to affect the meta a little bit. There's going to be more heroes that are more reliable in this style environment, but at least you're going to know the hero is viable on the map. And you're going to be able to, this is an important consideration, you're going to remove all the special matchmaking rules that have slowly slowed down queue times in quick match, so it's no longer actually quick.
Right. So, Liquid, I see you jotting down notes feverishly there. Now, you know, we've got to take this a little bit more seriously. You've got a minute, sir. You're on the clock.
Okay, while I do agree that there are some maps that are not good for some heroes, learning mechanical skills against other players is important. The AI will never punish you enough where you cannot learn those mechanical skills strictly against AI people. So you have to have players. Yes, it does suck. Yes, I do agree that it would be great if in some faraway land we could have this magical new method of playing the game. Actually, I kind of like this blind pick style, but unfortunately, just don't have that right now. So we have to look specifically at whether quick match is healthy, given the absence of this awesome blind pick method. And so we kind of have to do that. Now, I want to address the specific point that Cavalier Guest brought up about the Overwatch players hating quick match. I agree. Those players did hate quick match. But you know what I would point to is that in subsequent events, Blizzard said, we really screwed up there. We need to let these guys just get wins in whatever game mode they want so that we're not toxifying quick match. And they switched that, and you could do those games in AI. So, yeah.
Your time is up. Okay, I've got a question now for Cavalier Guest. You're going to have 1 minute to respond to this. Now, I'm looking back on my days a couple years ago. Never played a MOBA before. I came into Heroes of the Storm from Hearthstone of all games because I saw it in the launcher. I went in, I played several AI games, and the first thing I did was, after that, felt comfortable enough to go into quick match. I did actually like how it was easy. You just picked a hero and you press the start button, and that's what you had to do, not having a ton of game knowledge going in. to me as a new player, it seemed like an easy introduction into like playing against real people. Do you think you're alienating any sort of the population by eliminating a quick match mode and changing it into what you're describing before?
I do think you're going to alienate some people, but you're going to alienate people who probably wouldn't be interested in the learning curve of a MOBA anyway. I think every single MOBA on the market is accepted to have a substantial learning curve. Pros in League of Legends and Dota will tell you it takes about a year to learn all the heroes, to learn all the interactions, to have that level of game knowledge. There's a steep learning curve. It's a game with enough strategic depth, with enough different heroes, with enough interactions, and the maps make it even more complicated than other MOBAs in some regards. Not all regards, but in some regards, the maps make all those hero interactions more complicated. So, do you want to be honest about the product that you're offering when people first log into the game and be like, yes, this game is complicated, but it has a lot of fun mechanics. It's really cool. You're going to get to learn a lot, and you're going to get to win by outthinking your opponent in a lot of cases. Or you want to throw them in a situation where, in a lot of cases, they're going to auto lose because they don't have game knowledge. And I do think that in addition to my blind pick mode, there needs to be some sort of increase in educational content from Blizzard.
Time. Okay, my question for Liqiud. A minute goes by fast, Cav? My question for Liqiud. Now, kind of in a similar situation too, as a new player, I felt like going through Quick Match, I had to unlearn a lot of things that I learned in Quick Match when I made the transition to unranked and ranked play. Now, do you think that Quick Match is an okay place to start, or is this fostering bad game knowledge and bad mechanics going forward for any new players? Liqiud, you're on the clock.
Okay, so while I do agree that when you jump into like a hero league or a team league where you're probably a little more coordinated than you were in Quick Match if you were solo queuing into Quick Match, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. Take, for example, the difference between going into hero league and team league. Similar situation. Or team league into a true outside of the game league, like a custom game like Chair League or Heroes Hype, Tempo Storm, or even Open Division, or even HGC. God willing, you're that good and you end up qualifying for HGC. There's always going to be a period of, okay, I was good in Hero League. Now I have to relearn to play with 4 of the same players all the time. Okay, I was good in Team League. Now I have to learn that scrims are more important than just Team League so I can get to the next step in my evolution. Okay, I won Open Division. Now I'm going into the Crucible. Holy crap, these pro teams are way better than me because they're doing X, Y, and Z, and I'm not doing those things. So that kind of method of learning will always be the case when you're trying to elevate your game to the next level.
Good timing there. Okay. Cavalier, guys, you have 2 minutes for your closing statement. Everyone, don't forget you've got 1 audible still remaining. All right, 2 minutes. You're on the clock.
So I think the arguments for Quick Match and the arguments against Quick Match are pretty clear cut, but I want to bring up one more that did not get considered. Last year, Blizzard at BlizzCon said that 50% of games in Heroes of the Storm were Quick Match, and that number was going down as people were starting to explore other game modes, unranked draft, Hero League, Team League. So as people get more into the game, they move on to other modes. But what's the number one complaint that people have constantly about this game? It's level of game knowledge and matchmaking. Because QM doesn't teach you the quote-unquote real game where you have tanks, where you have supports consistently, where you have zoning, where you have sustain mechanics, where you control objectives, where you sometimes trade objectives for other things. When you move into those other game modes that are the real game of Heroes of the Storm, and it's, obviously Blizzard thinks that way too because HGC is considered competitive, Hero League is trying to be competitive, they're trying to adjust it. You have to, as Liqiud said, or not Liqiud, as Daz said, you have to unlearn things. You have to unlearn things that you thought were true and end up being untrue about the game. The only thing Quick Match gives you is mechanics. It doesn't give you game knowledge. It doesn't give you knowledge of drafting, compositions. It doesn't do any of that. So there should be an introduction mode. There should be gated map tutorials where you can't get queued into a map until you've gone through the tutorial and understand some of the dynamics. There needs to be more educational content built into the client. This is critical. Blizzard already agrees with this. We know that for a fact because they're doing the Play with a Pro series that they just posted about today, where they're trying to increase game knowledge. They realize that this is the problem, and they realize that seeding from QM, when QM is a game mode that doesn't have any relation to Hero League, has caused massive problems in terms of enjoyment of the game for everyone who's really dedicated to the game. And fixing a problem that's causing issues for your most dedicated players should be your number one priority when you have a game that is going to be the long term what you're looking for Heroes of the Storm.
All right, Liquid, you've got your final 2 minutes. You're on the
Okay,
clock.
so I'm gonna close with a couple of things. While I do agree that you do have to relearn certain things, and I do agree that that can be difficult, I would point out that in QM you can actually get some game knowledge around the map specifically, just like you can out of AI, right? You can learn when the right time is, or when a more opportune time is to get a boss. Or, oh my God, we wiped these people. Should we be looking at boss, or should we be doing, this instead? In an AI game, you typically wipe the other AI team relatively quickly, especially if you get people that are just trying to pound out a couple of quests real quick. And actually, from my own experience, I've discovered that there are times where playing with AI or playing in an AI game, you don't learn as much on a hero, right? Because what typically happens, you get 3 to 4 other people that are in that AI game with you, and they just want to push a lane, kill the core, move on to their next one because they're just trying to knock out a quest, especially during some kind of holiday type event, right? Where in QM, it's more, okay, we need to win and we have to react to how these other players are playing against us. So I would point out that you can get some map knowledge there and you can get some game knowledge, not necessarily the same level that you might get in other game modes. And I do agree with Cavalier Guest. Clearly, there's a gap here, right? But I'm not trying to say that QM is bad. I'm trying to say that, yeah, it would be nice if we had an additional way for us to learn the game as opposed to just the 4 modes we have now. But since we only have those 4 modes and Blizzard hasn't released them, QM is actually a decent place to do those things. And I guess the last thing I would do is I'd like to tie this back into like a regular sport. If you played Rec League and then you moved into junior high, you're going to learn a lot of different things going from Rec League into a junior high sport. And the same is true going into like high school football out of junior high football. And then into college football, completely different game than you played in high school. And again, God willing, you're good enough to make it in the NFL, completely different game than what you played in college. It's all about learning the differences as you move through the tiers of the game that you choose to play. And for us, that's Heroes of the Storm.
Nice little segue out there, Liquid. I'm impressed. Not a single audible was thrown. I think that's the first debate we've had where neither combatant has tried to throw the other one off of his game. Anyway, I'm dropping the straw poll link into chat. Feel free to vote on who you think won the debate. And again, the loser is going to have to wear a bow tie for all their appearances on Twitch.
Now,
next
hold on a second. I have a complaint to lodge.
An official complaint. Let's hear it.
While I will probably lose, and I do not mind wearing the bow tie if I do lose, I would like to see something different out of Cavalier Guest if I should win. Because he already wears the bow tie like 90% of the time when he's on Twitch.
But now he's going to have to do it 100% of the time.
I actually only wear bow ties for casting and other special events. I don't wear it during my normal streams.
There you go. And that's
All
only...
right.
quote unquote if he loses. We'll have to see how that straw poll shakes out. We'll close the poll in a few days, so you'll have a little bit of time, Liquid, to rally up your Russian botnet to try and get your upvotes there. But thanks to Cav for subbing in for Mystic there. I'm sure Mystic appreciates it. We actually had a question in the chat if we're going to make this, if we were considering making this a regular show, the debate. I think we'd all live about 10 years less if we did that. While we all do love doing this debate periodically, I think it's something that we enjoy doing in small spurts, so it's something that we won't be doing consistently as like a standalone show. But thanks for the question though, and I mean it is a great segment. We do love doing it, and this is one that actually was a reader suggested segment that we've taken, I think, since maybe episode 6 into the current form of the show too. But this is